were gathered as constituents of the Ancaster, Dundas, Flamborough, Westdale riding in front of David Sweet's office, which is closed today, unfortunately. We saw on the news this week that David is actually in Israel right now on a trip that's supported by the Canadian Israel
Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs.
CJA. So we were disappointed to learn that. Nonetheless, we want David to know of our deep concern, and so we are giving him this letter. Dear Mr. Sweet, as a constituent of the Ancaster, Dundas, Flamborough, Westdale riding, and on behalf of many others in the riding, I write to you distressed by Canada's reaction to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I would like to urge you to consider immediate actions that the Canadian government must undertake to contribute to a humanitarian resolution in the current crisis in Gaza, Palestine.
As you may know, the conflict that started at the beginning of July with heavy shelling from Israel into Gaza has resulted, at the time of writing, in 1,306 Palestinians dead, including 260 children 18 or younger. In the photo you can see Yasmin and Hatem al-Yazid killed with their grandparents July 21st at the Jabalia refugee camp in Gaza.
I am aware of reports about rockets being shot from Gaza into Israel. 3 civilians were reported killed. 53 Israeli soldiers were also killed during the ground invasion of Gaza. This is in wide contrast with the disproportionate massacre of Palestinian civilians and infrastructure destruction in Gaza caused by the IDF. Nothing has been spared. Bombing has included houses, mosques, hospitals, UNRWA schools, and the only major power plant in Gaza. Nothing justifies this level of devastation and outlaw behavior by an occupying country, not even security or self-defense.
As an occupying power, Israel has responsibility to protect the basic rights of the Palestinian people, including rights to adequate food, water, housing, education, and health. UN and NGO reports have consistently shown how Israel's blockade has denied these rights to the people of Gaza.
It is obvious to me that the Canadian government position of unconditional support for Israel makes Canada complicit in the killing of many innocent civilian Palestinians caught in a conflict of which they are not a part. Civilian population is protected under international law, even in time of war. And as a Canadian, I expect Canada to uphold and respect international law.
I saw with dismay that you accepted a trip paid for by the Center for Israeli and Jewish Affairs to travel to Israel, where you joined a Canada-Israel solidarity event, met with various Israeli officials and the families of soldiers. Did you also meet with families of Gaza who have been bereaved? How much Israeli infrastructure did you see destroyed? Did you visit Gaza, where UN officials would have been glad to show you around? It is hard to see this as a fact-finding trip if you do not hear the Gazan story and why they are resisting the Israeli occupation. I can only understand this trip as a de facto statement of support for Israel's war crimes against Palestinians in Gaza, and thus you help enable the Israeli armed forces to act with impunity in Gaza. This is unacceptable to us.
Finally, as your constituent, I urge you as a member of Parliament, 1, to advocate for the Canadian government to immediately and publicly condemn the abuses committed by Israel, widely considered crimes.
To recommend that Canada recognize the call for Palestinians for their internationally recognized human rights and be a promoter for peace in all circumstances.
Third, to ask that Canada uphold international law in cases of conflicts wherever they may occur.
And finally, to demand that Israel end the expansionist aggression, the occupation of Palestinian territory, and the blockade of Gaza as the only venue to restore long-lasting peace in the Middle East.
The Toronto Star of 30th of July reports Canada's bully boy approach to Gaza may be politically expedient for Prime Minister Stephen Harper, but in terms of bringing peace to the Middle East, it is not helpful. If anything, it makes matters worse. My Canada must always choose to be on the right side of history beyond any political ideology.
Let's not repeat errors of judgment that we will surely regret later. Sincerely.
This video has been shot on Friday, August 1st at 11:20, and I just want to add for a minute that as we speak, the so-called ceasefire has already been broken as fighting has resumed between Israeli soldiers and Hamas.